Live streaming is on.
Hi, Tuki.
Hi, Tuki.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Of course.
Assalamu alaikum भाई.
हाँ भाई टुकी अस्सलाम. क्या टोपी भी लगा के बैठे हो घर में, क्या बात है?
घर में नहीं, अभी गोल्फ खेल के आ रहे हैं इसलिए.
अच्छा अच्छा, थोड़ा सुबह होगा ना. हाँ थोड़ा सुबह है, करेक्ट.
सौरभ तुम कहाँ हो? घर पे हो कहीं बाहर हो? ऑफिस में?
ऑफिस में हूँ यार.
क्या सैटरडे नाइट को ऑफिस में बैठे हुए हो?
हाँ, पत्नी साथ में है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं.
बाकी जनता कहाँ है? सब देर से आते हैं.
पता नहीं, बबुआ बोले कि 5 सवाल पूछेंगे, उसके बाद बोलने देंगे.
बबुआ खुद गायब है.
हाँ, खुद गायब है.
अभी उसके लिए क्वालिफाई करना पड़ता है. मतलब सौरभ का टॉक सुनने के लिए यू कांट जस्ट वॉक इन. उसके पहले आप 5 सवाल पूछे, क्वालिफाई करेंगे. जब आप क्वालिफाई हो तभी आपको अलाउ किया जाएगा सुनने के लिए.
है ना? ये तो हम मेरे लिए बोल रहे हैं कि 5 सवाल पूछेंगे तब बोलने देंगे.
अच्छा अच्छा, उल्टा. अब तो लिसनर का सोच रहे थे.
ना.
टुक्की तुम टेक्सास में हो? कहाँ पे हो?
हाँ, ऑस्टिन टेक्सास में.
तो तुम लोग क्या सब खुला हुआ है? मतलब स्पोर्ट्स आउटडोर वगैरह
सब कुछ खुला हुआ है. बंद नहीं है सारा कुछ.
अच्छा.
Hey Saurabh, hey Zed, Sharad,
हाय.
Andy.
ये नाम नहीं दिख रहा है, कौन है?
अंकिल संजय सुभाष.
अब दिखा. अभी नाम ही दिखा है, तुम नहीं दिखे हो.
नाम
ही काफी है.
अरे वाह, some new faces today.
Hi Baba
जी, कहाँ हो?
Yeah, good. How are you? What is going on?
Hi Baba.
Hi.
Hey Saurabh, yeah, good to see you. I'm going to introduce a new session. I did not know if you have seen it or not.
ये एक्सटेम्पोर होगा क्या? टॉपिक
हाँ, या.
टाइम हो गया क्या?
Hey Anshu, was there Anshu or who was that?
Anshu and Harsh.
Yes. अभी मैं हूँ, अभी अंशु भी आ रही है. आ रही है.
So शरद, क्या चल रहा है भाई तुम्हारा?
बस यार
काफी दिन से दर्शन नहीं दिए भाई.
साल भर हो गया करीब मिले हुए.
Yeah, I know.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey guys. So Saurabh, as usual, dressed up like a gentleman. Oh, yeah. Namaste, pranam. Good. How are you? So Saurabh, क्या हाल है भाई दिल्ली में? What is going on?
बहुत बढ़िया.
what about all this COVID stuff? क्या चल रहा है?
सब ठीक चल रहा है, टेरेस अच्छा चल रहा है.
Oh, अच्छा, okay.
Hi everyone, is it Ashish?
Yeah, hi Anshu, how are
Yes.
you?
I'm good, how are you? Seeing you after a long time.
I know, many years. How are you guys doing?
After 1990, guys, I suppose.
That's true.
Yeah.
विश्वा ने अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म सेटअप किया है. It's a good time to learn and meet everybody.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I'm realizing how little we know about each other, right? So today I'm going to try a new section at the beginning of about 10 minutes of know your speaker.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were silent on the IPL. I'm sure they're watching IPL.
मेरा एक टीम का IPL चल रहा है. तो वहाँ पे भी शोर नहीं है तो यहाँ पे शोर क्यों होगा?
That's right. So Sandeep ka, where is he? Hey Sanjay Subhash is there. Looks like Ankil is there.
हाँ जी बोलो विश्वा.
कहाँ हो भैया तुम आजकल? What is going
मैं
on?
न्यू जर्सी में हूँ.
Oh really? Okay. Yeah, once the travel begins, I will come visit you. I haven't seen you in a while. I remember last time probably we met climbing a bus at DTC metro.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Do you remember that or not?
ये कब की बात है DTC में बैठे थे?
This is like I would say 1990, I would believe, or something like that. First time I went back. I ran into you in. I mean, were you there in Delhi that time? Somewhere early 90s, I think.
1990 में, yeah, I mean, I was there in Delhi for several times during that year.
Okay.
Yeah, तो कहाँ Delhi में we had bumped into each other or we had met?
No, I mean, we were both trying to hop onto the same bus. You might have forgotten.
I don't remember that incident, but it's very possible.
नहीं, only one of you made it to the bus, I guess.
दूसरे ने धक्का मार के भगा दिया होगा.
आगे बात नहीं हो पाई फिर.
ये उसकी तरह हो गया
Very possible,
बाबा.
sure.
तो याद है वो इंटर आईटी बॉम्बे में जो लोकल ट्रेन में चढ़े थे हम लोग to go to
Oh
Nariman Point.
gosh. Oh my
Remember
goodness.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable.
we couldn't make it, right? Not all of us could go in one train.
I mean, there's no space to move. You just go with the flow.
Yeah,
That's what I learned that day, that you just have to leave yourself hanging and you just go with the flow. you just go with them.
True.
So Sandeep, what say you? It's 9:02. Okay, so as people are joining, let's do our other series. The Know Your Speaker thing. So Saurabh, before we even begin that, I mean, tell us a little bit about your upbringing, family, where you grew up, and so on. I mean, a little bit, whatever you can publicly share. There's no pressure or anything. I mean, just whatever you want to share, where you came from. So to say.
Thanks, Bhagwa. Thanks, everyone. It's a privilege to be in this office group. Well, I was born and brought up in Allahabad. Grew up in Allahabad till about class 12. When I reached back in IIT Kanpur to develop, and as an ITK, Bhagwa can't forget the fact that there are two people in this group who I really admire as a complete sportsman. Please others don't take it otherwise. One is Zed, one is Bhagwa.
Oh gosh.
They will
Man,
they will excel and have been role models for me. They were brilliant in studies, they were brilliant in sports. Really hats off to the two of you guys.
Oh
And
gosh.
of course, Tukki, who was my project partner, I didn't know anything about VLSI that we were doing, but he gave me gracious enough to make sure that I get out of IIT with no blemishes, which I did. Then I joined the telecom service because I was, being in the cow belt, you're supposed to write the civil services, which I had to. It's something that once you get in, you can't get out. So joined the telecom service for a couple of years. Then found myself to be a tax collector, the revenue service, where I met Anupma, she's here, and for about 10 years was trying to collect taxes, met the system, decided not to. Found myself in Ministry of Power at some point in time, 2002. Was there for about 4-5 years. Then went to Japan, unlikely place to do a master's. From there, came back to India and joined an organization called Bureau of Energy Efficiency. It's basically a regulatory body for promoting energy efficiency. Stayed there for about 3.5 years. Went to the UN in Bangkok. Lovely place, great things, but just no work. That's a place, UN, that you would like to join when you are nearing 60. It's a nice place to be for retired people.
Let's retire there.
Yeah, exactly. Best place to retire. No work, tax-free salary, travel around the world, just speak English and make nice presentations. That's all what we want to do. In one full day, all you need to do is about half an hour of work. That's about it. So anyway, I thought I was too early. It was too early for me to retire. Came back here in 2013. Left my revenue service job. Left my UN job. Took up a company which was nearly about to get closed. I have no regrets after 7 years. We are now a multinational. God has been kind. Family has been kind. And I have 2 daughters, lovely daughters. One was studying very near to Turkey, but now she is back in India. The younger one is in Boston as we speak, in a final year. And I can see Ajit Narayan, who I will mention how much he helped in this whole journey. But let me get back to Bhagwa. This is what I can share publicly or privately, whatever it is.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. So my 5 questions are here.
Yeah.
So what do you remember from the first day at IIT?
Can't really remember much, but I think I do remember Gupta ji. I don't know if he's around here, who was my wingmate. Certainly remember him. Certainly remember the kind of food the odor of the food that we used to get.
you mean the yellow water, right? The yellow water.
Yeah, and Lala's canteen, which served lovely bread and eggs.
Okay, the second question. In your 4 years, what is your favorite memory from IIT?
I think one thing which is etched in our memory, I don't know if Rohit is around here, that grade 6 that Rohit hit, second last ball, inter IT in Madras.
Yes.
Where
Yes.
Babua, everybody was not looking at the match and praying to God. That was certainly the biggest stick. And the last day in IT, where we were about to leave, and the whole night, the 4 or 5 of us actually were playing Flash.
Nice. I mean, it's good to know that it wasn't related to some Magga or something like that, or any course or anything.
Well,
But
Tukki was taking care of everything else.
So I'll bring you back to that. So what was your favorite course or teacher or something at IIT?
Mostly in humanities, mostly. I remember a course which I took, and my F-top wingmates decided to come in only on one condition, that I'll write term paper for everyone, which I did.
Oh my gosh!
I don't remember the name, but I was certainly not very keen on interested in the Indian.
Which course was this?
Some humanity something. I have no idea. I don't recollect.
Okay. It wasn't philosophy or anything like that. It was
Could possibly be.
okay. 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 So one thing, whatever you can share publicly from your career after IIT, what is the biggest accomplishment that you feel you've had, or one story that you can share that you cherish?
Well, I have many stories to share as we get into what.
Something publicly you can share, because this might be recorded.
No, publicly I will share. There are many stories that I have written up. Of course, the last 7 years have been the most, I would say, amazing part of the career, that whatever I had, unbelievable and true.
Wow. Okay. Then one last question. So something that this group doesn't know that you love to do when you have free time. Well, what is it that you go to when you have some free time?
Okay.
When nobody else is there.
Okay. So it's all reality. Love to sing, and that's how I met my better half.
I remember.
The first time we met was we sang together on stage.
Wow, that's amazing. So we are going to have this webinar 2 of series where we are going to bring some singers on stage and actually have a singing session.
I've retired from every other thing that I did early, so you'll have to find some other people to sing.
No. I mean, this one won't be recorded, so I mean, anything goes. So I mean, feel free to sing. If you love to sing, if you still sing in your free time, that's what you said. Then why not? Okay, great. So now to the main topic. The floor is all yours. Now we know enough about you. Just walk us through the journey of iitkEESL. I mean, this is an amazing success story. I mean, I'm just intrigued by this. This is a private-public kind of joint undertaking, or what is it? What is it?
Well, it's a public sector company. But before I go there, I see Piyush. Happy birthday, Piyush.
Oh yeah, where is he?
I don't see him. I don't know. His name is there. I don't know if he's around.
He's there. He has to show himself, and then we'll all sing happy birthday.
Yeah, let's all sing happy birthday at least.
Yeah.
Sir, show your face.
Oh, he's not there.
So he was there.
Yeah, he's
there. That is Piyush.
Where is he?
P for Piyush. He's unmute, but his voice is probably not coming.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, maybe we can all sing. Our voice can reach him. That'll be good enough, I guess.
He needs to speak up too.
Hey, Piyush, are you there? Otherwise, happy birthday from all of us. Do you want to sing a quick one?
Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you.
Musa says he can hear us, but his camera and mic are not working.
Happy birthday, dear Piyush.
We are all singing happy birthday to
you.
I will. Chalo, theek hai.
All right, Saurabh. The
Okay.
floor is all yours. Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. So the story is 10 saal bemisal. That's the tagline.
Wow.
Anyway, so let me get to the story. The whole presentation is mostly on pictures, very few text. But just to give you a small input, this is a joint venture of 4 public sectors. It's a government company. We have around 1,000 employees, and we are funded by a lot of multilaterals and bilaterals. If you see the bottom right-hand side, this is how we have grown. From a 4 million company in 2014, we are almost 400 million today. In the next 2 or 3 years, we'll cross $1 billion of turnover. This has been a growth rate of almost 133% over the last 5 years.
Sorry, can you go full screen?
Sorry?
Can you go full screen? I'm seeing a double screen.
It's a full screen that I've said. No.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I can go full screen on mine. So there is an option on the right, the 3 dots on the right. If you click on that, you can go full screen from there.
No, I'm seeing his
screen. Go to your display settings and do a duplicate, then it'll become.
Yeah, I'm seeing his next slide also.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure.
On my end, it's full screen, but I can see his next slide also.
No, Nata, you're better prepared that way.
I think he's right. If you go to the display settings and then pick the at the top
duplicate slideshow, yeah, there's a setting there.
Yeah, just go to display settings.
Okay, can I go ahead?
That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So before I begin what it is, let me mention what is energy efficiency and why it is very common sense, doesn't happen very much. And the reasons I've put together here, energy efficiency is largely an infrastructure sector. Most of the infrastructure sector, whether it is a thermal power plant or a renewable energy plant, they don't quantify if you have a 1,000 megawatt power station, whether it is renewable energy or thermal or gas or nuclear, you can actually see, you can feel, and you can measure. And therefore, it attracts investments. And therefore, there is opportunity for political people to come and inaugurate things, show that they have done something for the people. Energy efficiency is derived. And before I get into this, there's a small picture that I've shown you on the right-hand side. That I come and tell Babua that you are using a 14 watt CFL. I can give you the same amount of light output with a 7 watt LED bulb, which means you 50% energy is saved. Now, imagine if Babua is using the CFL in his bathroom, but because Saurabh came and told him that, look, this is very, very energy efficient, and therefore, and I give the LED bulb to him, instead of changing his bathroom CFL, he changes the living room CFL, which means the CFL that he was using for 2 hours is actually now the LED is being used for 4 hours. Therefore, there is no energy saving. Babua comes back and tells Saurabh, you're actually lying. There is no energy saving. What are you telling me? Imagine if this is a business model. I go and tell Babua that the CFL cost $1 and the LED cost $3. Which Babua is not very sure whether the 7 watt bulb will last long, and therefore he goes to the supermarket and only buys a 14 watt CFL. But I go and tell him that, look, Babua, every month, if you are in India, you will save 15 rupees because you have changed over to a 7 watt LED. And therefore, every month, I will give you, regardless of what the cost of LED is, you use the LED and give me back your CFL. Every month, I will take 10 rupees from you, and you still save 5 rupees. But because of the fact that, and that is where, if you see, energy efficiency has to be agreed ex ante, because it's a function of reduction in wattage and the usage hours. Now, as far as the usage is concerned, in the same example that I gave you, I have no control on how Babua uses the LED bulbs. And therefore, it has to be agreed upfront. And that is where the whole problem of something which looks very, very easy, very commonsensical, that if you invest in energy efficiency, and now take this example to a large industry, a steel plant, 60% of their cost is energy. Now, if you reduce and invest in projects that reduce your energy cost, you're actually better off. But because of the fact it cannot be seen, it cannot be measured by a simple meter, this is the classical dichotomy of energy efficiency in the world. And therefore, it is very hard if you see anywhere in the world, energy efficiency has been scaled up to the way that we were able to do in this country. How did we do that? Is what I have highlighted on the bottom left on the screen. We created something what we call deemed and demonstrated energy savings. Again, coming back to Babua's example. I and Babua have a talk that you have a 14 watt CFL, I will give you a LED of 7 watt. Now, please, if you don't believe that I'm giving you a 7 watt LED bulb, please go and get it tested anywhere. Once you are convinced it is a 7 watt LED bulb, then we sit down and agree how many hours are you using this bulb for. We agree on a number and then we sign a contract. And thereafter, Babua will not ask me whether the LED bulb has given savings or not. This is what we call the demonstrated and deemed savings approach. And we tailor the returns or the repayments in a manner where Babua, if he's saving 15 rupees, is giving me 10 rupees. It may be normative. And that is what we call the pay as you save approach. Therefore, what we were able to do is to create an elusive business case into an investor-friendly annuity model. That forget about everything else, or everything else is cast in stone as far as the contract is concerned. And you pay me over time, maybe 5 years, 10 years, like any other infrastructure sector, an annuity to create this. And then we also made sure that there is some political capital that we provided to make, as I indicate, energy efficiency, quote unquote, visible.
So Saurabh, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, in this case, I mean, let's say the bulb, something goes wrong with the bulb before the term expires for me to pay you back. Are you going to provide a new bulb?
Yeah, so wonderful question, and I forgot to tell this. There are two reasons why energy efficiency does not work. The first reason is any efficient equipment, device, service is much higher cost than the normal equivalent. So when we started the LED program, in 2013, the CFLs were costing around 100 rupees, and the LED bulb was about 500 rupees. And the second thing is, because the usage of these LED bulbs or any energy efficient equipment is not something which is very prevalent, you don't know the comparative information about it. And therefore, what we did was, as I said, we reduced the cost of acquisition by creating an innovative model, which I'll talk about. B, as Babua, you asked, if I'm locked in with a 5-year contract with you, where I've given you an LED bulb as a replacement to your CFL, if anything happens to your bulb for the next 5 years, I will replace it free of cost. So this is how we overcame the two significant barriers for energy efficient equipments, which exist not just in India, across the world. Does it answer your question, Babua?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, only thing it reminds me is like we got the solar panels done here. It's similar model, somewhat similar model.
So
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Saurabh, I have another question. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Now, this is when you do the baselining, because when you say we are saving 15 and out of that 10 is given to you, how contentious, because there are some other projects in which these kind of initiatives are there that, whatever you save, a certain part of that will be taken. How contentious does that get, and how easy is it to establish that baselining? Maybe in this case, metering, etc., might be easy, but how because people can try and cheat later, right?
Okay, so am I allowed to give anecdotes?
Sure, why not?
I remember 2015, we were asked by the government of Rajasthan to replace their entire street light in the state, completely. And the official data that we got, sorry Zed, I'm taking a slightly circuitous route to it's a very important today.
Yeah.
So we got information in writing that they have 15 lakh street lights, right? And they were paying around 45 to 50 crores for maintenance of these street lights every year. This is as per the budget. Today we have replaced all street lights in the state of Rajasthan. There are only 9.5 lakh street lights. Right? 5.5 lakh street light never existed. And I told you about 45 crores is pertaining to this 5.5 lakh street lights. That was being taken as maintenance, which never for poles that never existed. So coming back, yes, any energy efficiency project must have a very good data. Otherwise, there will always be a challenge, a jhagda on everything else. And that's why, Zed, we came out on a deemed and a demonstrated savings approach. What we did in Streetlight program, because we realized there is just no data available. No one knows in this country. Now we have done what? Virtually 90% of replacement of street lights in this country we have done. Not a single utility, not a single municipality, whether they have 20,000 street lights or they have 5 lakh street lights, they have no idea of the inventory. They have absolutely no idea as to what is the kind of lights that they have. Therefore, what we did initially, if you see any street light, any street, there are 2 arms on the pole, right? Initially, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, what we did was we let the first arm, one arm, remain on the lighting that it had. The second arm we changed into LEDs, and we said we'll do it for 500 lights, 1,000 lights, wherever you want. Then please get any expert who's there to check whether the lighting levels are better than what exists on the 2 sides of the road. B, what is the energy consumption? You do this for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. Once you are convinced, only then we will replace every lights. But coming back to Zed's question, yes, data availability and the sanctity of data is critical for any energy efficiency program. In India, it doesn't work because the data availability is just very, very bad. And therefore, we had to do what we have done. Does it answer your question, Zed?
Yes, thanks, Saurabh. Thanks.
Okay. So let me begin with the fact that there are 6 defining moments, if I were to look back in the last 6 to 7 years, which made us what we are. And I'll take one at a time. First, as I said, energy efficiency is not visible. So you have to create a product. So first, we created a product and also tried to create political capital. So let me go ahead and mention what it was. When we started this program in 2013, LED bulbs were about 500 rupees in India. The Indian lighting market was about 1.1 billion, and the share of LEDs was just about less than 1%. And just as I explained in my conversation with Babua, we said, forget about the capital cost. I will give you LED bulbs at 10 rupees each. You don't have to do anything. Come to my distribution counter, take the LED bulb, and we will introduce one small line in your electricity bill that every month 10 rupee gets deducted from your gets added to your electricity bill. It will go on from 5 years to 10 years, and I will explain what 5 years and 10 years mean. If you see the graph, the top one, when we started the program, we were procuring LED bulbs at about 310 rupees. This was in Pondicherry. And if I were in a private sector organization, I would have been fired in 2013 as well, because I agreed to a bulb warranty of 10 years, which means if the bulb fails for 10 years, I will replace the bulb and I'll get my money back. Obviously, everybody knew an LED bulb cannot last for 10 years. And this was an investment that we made about 6 lakh bulbs way back in 2013. And let me confess that half of the investment today is actually become bad. But if we had not done that investment, we would have never gotten where we were. And as I said, because we were able to create a business model which was very low in transaction cost, for the governments, it was something that they were able to dole out a new technology to masses without actually investing anything from the budget. Large number of states started to join in. And if you see from January 13, where we bought the LED bulbs for 310, just in about 3 years, the cost went down to 56. And I do not have could not show the real figure. In the next 1 year, it went down to 39 rupees. Today, if you see the next infographic, in 2013-14, India accounted for about 0.1% of global demand. In 15-16, which actually has now grown to about 17 to 20%, India now has about 20% of global demand for LEDs because of this program. What it did was because of the aggregation and bulk procurement. But how did this happen? How did we create political capital? So again, the story, this was in 2013. A friend of mine was chief secretary in Puducherry. He was convinced of the program, and he said, can you make a presentation before the chief minister in Tamil? No, not very difficult, and we did manage. And we said to the honorable chief minister that we'll put your photographs on the bulbs, and if you see the middle, the bulb box that we created, the top right is the then chief minister of Puducherry. For a political animal, this became something which is coming from because you are not investing anything, and your photograph is going to all 200,000 houses in Puducherry. So the file went up to the lieutenant governor, because it's a union territory. The chief minister cannot decide on his own. The honorable lieutenant governor, see the face on the left side, said, no, my photograph also has to come in. That's the second photograph. When the file went down, before the order was issued to us, the honorable energy minister said, my photograph also must come. And you see the third photograph there. Now, this happened, the distribution in Puducherry happened, and this was 2014, and the new government in Andhra Pradesh came in, Chandrababu Naidu, and we took this bulb box and showed it to him. And on the right hand side, you see, he was very happy to give us an order from we did about 6 lakh bulbs in Puducherry, and we got a 2 crore order from Andhra Pradesh just because we were able to create political capital. And on the extreme left, you see Odisha Chief Minister there. Thereafter, we got almost 2 crore order from there as well. So this program, A, we made it visible, made a product. B, created a political capital by telling these politicians that you can actually send out a message, send out something with your photograph with no investment and no cost to the government. So these are the photographs on the left-hand side. You see the Honorable Chief Minister of Puducherry then doling out these bulbs to ordinary citizens. You see right in the middle, Chandrababu Naidu announcing that he is going to start off this program on the 2nd of October 2014. On the extreme right was the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, launching this whole program, LED bulb. So from an elusive entity, we were able to create a product, B, political capital. The second defining moment is, I don't know how many of us remember the Hudhud cyclone that hit eastern part of India in 2014. And I still remember this was the month of October, around the same time, maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now. It hit Vizag, and actually the entire infrastructure of Vizag was completely destroyed. I get a call while I was going for tennis from the Minister of Urban Development in Andhra Pradesh, and said, "Can you?" And we had just started the Ujala program, as you have seen. So we had some relationship with the government of Andhra Pradesh. They said, "Can you do?" All our street light infrastructure is destroyed, as you can see from the image on the top. Can you replace them all with LED street lights, smart LED street light? But you have to do it in 4 weeks. That was 90,000 street lights in that city. I said, okay. Came back to my office. We were just about 30, 35 people in the office. And before this, the largest project that we had done was about 500 streetlights. But somehow we were able to manage, and we could not do this in 4 weeks. We did this in 6 weeks. And you see the photo. This is the actual photograph of the beach road in Vizag. This is what turned up after 6 weeks. And suddenly, the power ministry and the power minister realized there's something called iiSL, which can do things at scale and at a speed. And we were very fortunate that the power minister at that point in time, Mr. Piyush Goyal, actually then this was November of 2014, and he took us to the Prime Minister, 5th January 2015. You see on the left-hand side, the Honorable Prime Minister actually changing the bulb in the Prime Minister's office in South Block and launching the National LED program. It's about 5 years when this happened. We have not looked back. We have distributed 365 million LEDs in the country. We have replaced 11 million street lights. Absolutely no subsidy anywhere. This is the world's largest energy efficiency program, and I'm happy to report that this has become a case study in IIM Ahmedabad. Will also be a case study in Harvard for leadership. It has been a journey which has been really unprecedented. How did we all achieve this? We had a very aggressive, as I said, we got a product, we created political capital, but we also did an enormous amount of outreach as far as this whole program is concerned. On the left-hand side, we started what we called I Led the Way movement, where people took pledge that they will use LED bulbs. In fact, this I Led the Way campaign was the most, it got an award for the Asia Pacific campaign way back in 2016. On the right-hand side, and I'll start this was something which at least I am very proud about. As you said, as you see on the right-hand side, we launched the Ujala scheme in Jammu and Kashmir on 28th of August 2016. One of our IT batchmates, Dheeraj Gupta, was Energy Secretary. It was largely his thing that we were able to do this. It was a time when the entire valley was under curfew. I still remember 5 of us who went to Srinagar to launch this scheme. We were the only 5 people in Taj at that point in time. There was complete curfew everywhere else. Why I have put this thing is there are many ITK batchmates who have helped in this journey. The second person I must mention is Sanjay Malhotra. Sanjay Malhotra was Energy Secretary in Rajasthan, where we launched this program in Rajasthan, and there are many others that will come up. Yeah. So before I move to and please, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. But one thing which another anecdote that I must mention is that, as I said, the Honorable Prime Minister launched the program in 2015, January. And I went to Mr. Piyush Goyal, who was the then Minister of Power in Government of India. And we were very happy that in the year 2014 and 15, we were able to distribute 30 lakh bulbs, 3 million bulbs. So I went and reported to him that, sir, this is brilliant and we have never achieved anything. No one else has achieved anything like this. He actually reprimanded me. He said, Saurabh, you have taken me to the Prime Minister and said that in the next 5 years, we will replace 770 million bulbs. And you are very happy in 1 year of 3 million. He gave me a target of 90 million in that same year, 2015-16. I came back, my head is spinning. I thought last year of my service in government, that's about it. And for the next 2 or 3 hours, I did not know what to do. Then we sat down, a small group. We broke down the yearly target into a daily target. And we realized it is impossible, from 3 million to 90 million in one single year. And would you believe, we actually achieved that in 2016, 31st of March. I went up to Mr. Piyush Goyal. I said, I only want one thing. Can you spare about 15 minutes of your time and just bless the team that worked on this? And by the way, the team that I had, the average age of the team was about 27, 28 per year. He agreed, and he spent 2 hours with us. And that is where I would like to go to the next segment, where he said, look, now you guys are now good enough to take up schemes that no one else has been able to do. And that's where we entered into new areas of clean energy. As you see on the left-hand side, we perhaps are the forerunners of electric mobility in this country. 3 years ago, we ordered 10,000 electric vehicles. We were the first ones to do that. We possibly are the only entity or the government entity in the world which has kind of ordered these many kind of electric cars. We have deployed almost 2,000 odd cars across the country. And again, the model is the pay-as-you-save model, where we said, if you have a taxi, and most government organizations today, they do not have their own vehicle. They actually hire vehicles. And therefore, we said, instead of hiring an IC engine vehicle, please hire something which is an electric vehicle. Almost every segment of the government in central government is actually using these cars. Then we started off putting together charging stations across the country. And we have charging stations across Delhi. All those guys, if you are here in Delhi, you will see in Delhi NCR region, several charging stations in markets like Khan Markets, Connaught Place. Also then, we realized that what have we done in the last 4 or 5 years? If you see, we were actually a government startup. We have made it big, and therefore it is our duty to promote similarly placed private startups that we could. And on the right hand side is a flagship event that we do every single year. It's called Inspire. It's a global event which is actually now being attended by virtually everyone who is in the clean energy space. It's an innovation challenge that we run. We take 4 or 5 subjects related to clean energy, whether it is electric mobility, smart meters, connectivity, and connected grids, and we run an innovation challenge. We have an international jury that looks at which are the best who need to be awarded. And every single year, we are able to commercialize startups ranging from lighting to EVs to many other things. So this is what we have been doing as far as the new areas are concerned. The next defining moment was we became perhaps the first government company in the power sector to acquire an asset outside India. And the photograph that you see is a photograph of 2018 March, where we acquired a company in the UK, and it's a mid-sized company having 200 employees there, a turnover of nearly 800 crores in the UK. We acquired it. It was not very easy for sure, but we were able to manage. And after that, we have started expanding into large number of countries. UK and Ireland, we already are there. We acquired a small asset in Canada. We have a business in Saudi Arabia, Maldives, Malaysia, Australia. We just started off in Thailand just before the lockdown. And as I was telling Zed, I would have been sitting with him today because tomorrow morning is a board meeting in the UAE where we start our operations in Dubai. But unfortunately, because of the quarantine requirements, I did not have a kind of a virtual meeting for tomorrow morning. So where do we go from here? And again, here Sanjay Malhotra, the Additional Secretary now in Power Ministry, is of great help. What we are now starting, we have done lighting, we have done electric mobility, we have done smart meters. Now we feel that we are now ready for something which has not happened in many places in the world. And let me spend a couple of minutes on how things are going to change in the future. All of us have grown for centuries together, where we come back to our house, we switch on a light, and electricity comes. Is it going to be the same as we go ahead? Perhaps not. I will have my own small, as Vishwa said, he has a solar rooftop. I will have my own electric vehicle. I may like to not be part of the grid. And that's how things are going to change dramatically, given that power sector and transportation contributes maximum to climate change. Things are, I mean, you're looking at renewable energy, whether it is solar or wind, which does not have emissions of greenhouse gases. You have transportation, which is if you get into electricity, and if your grid is renewable energy based, you get out of oil and gas. And therefore, these three elements will shape the power sector or the energy sector in the decade to come. More importantly, while we are seeing gas, coal, you may not agree that, given that the oil prices have fallen in the pandemic, but the fact is, yes, the bulk cost of oil has fallen. But does it reflect on what you and I pay for petrol and diesel? No, because other kind of taxes are being levied virtually everywhere in the world. You see a carbon tax kind of a thing called Clean Energy Cess on coal. You have a host of other GST on petrol. And therefore, the fossil fuel is only going to become more expensive, and the renewable energy will become more affordable. More affordable, it will be clean. Can it be reliable? Yes, it would be. If you see on the left-hand side, the big problem of renewable energy is that it is infirm. Infirm as in, if I have 100 megawatt of solar, the energy that I get is only about 20 megawatt. And that too is not very clear as against a coal or power plant, where we know there's a stable energy of 100 megawatt will come 24/7. Therefore, if you combine storage with renewable energy, it's called VRE, it becomes other and closer. And that's what we are calling convergence. This is the new horizon we are working on. Yes, it is expensive to begin with, but we are trying to innovate, and I will very briefly touch upon the slide. I know it's a very busy slide, so let me not go here very much, but let me mention what our ambitions is, what our new products that we are trying to bring in. Remember, I mentioned, I started off this presentation with Ujala, where we were able to reduce the cost using many other things, including EMIs. Now we are launching a new branded Ujala scheme, where we will provide LED bulbs at rupees 10 by leveraging carbon finance. And I'll spend a minute on carbon finance. Basically, this, if I replace an ordinary bulb with LED bulb, it reduces energy consumption. And because energy consumption gets reduced, it also reduces what is called greenhouse gas emissions. This can be monetized as a carbon asset, and you can sell it in the international market and get money. The cost of these, what are they're called certified emission rights or carbon finance or carbon credits, as they're loosely called, ranges from $3 per ton to about $30 per ton. Anyway, so let me explain what a ton means. If I replace 10 LED bulbs, I get 1 ton of carbon credit. Now, I'm buying LED bulbs at 40 rupees per bulb. 10 bulbs will cost me about 400 rupees. If I'm able to sell that carbon credit worth of 400, which costs me, at let's say $3, which is 225 rupees per year, I make a massive amount of money. So we are trying to leverage carbon finance on this. Number two, if you look at what has happened post-lockdown in this country, complete migration, people from cities like Mumbai, Delhi, going back to rural areas. While the government has connected and the governments have connected all rural households with electricity, the fact is the rural infrastructure is still very poor. We have created innovative business models where we are able to put together decentralized solar plants with batteries in rural areas and combining it with carbon finance to make sure that affordable, reliable and clean energy will power rural India. The next thing that is high on our agenda is installation of smart meters. Just to give you a sense of what it means is, as a country, we sell about 1,300 billion kilowatt hours of electricity every single year. The billing efficiency of this country is 83%, which means 17% of electricity is not billed at all. Now, if you just calculate how much that is, that's about 200 billion kilowatt hours of electricity that was never billed. If I take an average of 4 rupees per unit of the cost of electricity, that's nearly $10 billion of revenue that was never billed. So we have taken up a very ambitious program. It's not just us, it is the government of India, to replace all meters that we have with smart meters, which means digitizing the whole infrastructure. We have started this in UP. We have done about 1.2 million meters there. Just 1.2 million meters, the UP government is saving or actually getting additional revenue of around 300 crores every single year. Then the next task that we have taken up is to drive e-mobility. And why we feel it's extremely important is that if you look at the ownership of vehicles, four-wheelers in this country, it is just about 5 to 6%. Look at any trend that you have over the next 10 years or so, this will go up to about 30%. Now, this is the big chance from a public policy perspective to nudge people towards electric mobility. Therefore, you reduce your many things. Number one, your emissions. Number two, your energy security, because 70 to 80% of oil that India uses is imported, whereas the electricity you can actually do here. Another thing that we are doing is a project that we're trying to which is actually good for COVID times, create things that will improve energy efficiency and also indoor air quality of the buildings. Our ambition is basically to reach a revenue of 1.5 billion in the next 2 to 3 years. So let me stop here and we'll be happy to answer any question that you have on this.
Hey, Saurabh, man, hats off to you. I mean, this is unbelievable work. I think if this does not deserve the highest level of awards in India, I don't know what does. This is unbelievable. So I have many questions, but I don't want to be the only one asking questions. So I'll come to my questions last. So whoever has questions for Saurabh, please go ahead. So many ideas, so many questions come to mind. But if you can just start us off with the basics of power grids, and so what happens to the excess electricity that gets generated? I mean, where does it go?
Well, that's the big problem of electricity, Vishwa. If you're generating excess, basically what it is called is you have to back down electricity because you can't store electricity.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. All right. So people, please ask questions for Saurabh. I have many.
Saurav, just picking up, this is Sugato here. Hi. Good to see you on pages. Can you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Great. So, obvious question, because battery technology in India is not there as yet. So, I hope we're not trying to replace imported oil by imported batteries. Any comments that you have on that?
Okay, so I know we have, and it is not just it's not just about India. It's about virtually everyone else in the world because nickel and cobalt is only available in a few countries across the world. Having said that, I'm happy to report that about 5 or 6 international players have already set up their manufacturing facility in India. Yes, nickel and cobalt continue to be imported from elsewhere. Maybe you'll see a new Gulf in the next 50 years, which means those countries who have nickel and cobalt become the next Gulf and the petrol goes away. But that's what we are as of now.
Hey, Saurabh, this is Alok. Very good presentation, excellent. And Saurabh, just a question. I know that you're trying to put me out of business. I'm involved with oil and gas now. So, I had a question. In terms of solar, what you've done with LED lights, can it be transported to solar panels? Can we do something which solar panel becomes more common in India, where people can afford and the kind of incentive for people to use solar panels and they get kind of reverse metering or something else. What are you thinking about that? How we can introduce more solar panels in India?
Thanks, Alok. No, I have no intention of pushing anybody out of anything, and for sure, even in government, what the targets that government has taken is very clear that only 30% of vehicles will be electrified by 2030. So, which means 70% will remain on oil and gas. Coming to your question, as far as solar panels are concerned, I think with the amount of manufacturing and sales that has happened in India, solar panels have become extremely cheap as far as the capital cost is concerned. And yes, there are several incentives, including net metering that you're mentioning, which means that if I am a consumer, I put up solar panels on my rooftop, whatever I use, rest I can actually push into the grid and get paid for. Those kind of regulatory frameworks exist in the country, and they are being used by virtually a lot of people here. So it's a big promotion as far as the solar panels are concerned.
Hey, Saurabh, this is Sanjay Subhash. I have a question. So, I do not know the breakout of the energy consumption between government, private sector, and consumers in India, but government is definitely probably one of the largest consumers or government controlled consumption. What about private sector? What's your approach to approaching private sector with this?
So we have, I mean, we don't make any distinction between private and public sector. What we have seen is that most of the private sector entities, particularly those where their energy cost as a component of their overall cost is high, they're all already doing a lot as far as energy efficiency is concerned. But still, we have been helping groups like Mahindra and Mahindra, Tata's, Aditya Birla Group, on a variety of things, including their process improvement, the utilities improvement, lighting, so on and so forth. So we are kind of we welcome virtually everyone who feels that energy saving must be something which is high on the agenda.
Hey Saurabh, can you hear me? This is Naveen Gupta.
Hi, Naveen.
Okay, cool. So this is a great achievement, man. Hats off. So my question to you is, what are the states who are still holding off on this?
Sorry?
Who have still not adopted? Which are the states?
Well,
Which are
as far as lighting is concerned, we have covered virtually the entire country. But as I said, we did a study about 3 years ago. What is the energy efficiency in a clean energy market size in India in terms of monetary value? That turned out to be about 20 billion US dollars. So if you see, you've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to be done. More importantly, look at decentralized solar and something. I don't know how many people in this group have been in the renewable energy space, but India will be paying a price what Europe is paying right now, particularly Germany, in the next 5 years. What we are doing is we are creating mammoth 100 to 500 megawatt power plants. And just intuitively, if you look at it, solar energy peaks during 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Look at any utility in the country. There is hardly any demand for renewable energy. And we are seeing this across the country where states after states are actually reneging contracts. You've heard of Andhra. I don't know if how many of you follow infrastructure sector. It is not because I don't want to buy a 2 rupee 44 paisa power. As Vishwa asked, can we store electricity? No, we can't. So unless I have demand, I cannot take a supply, because if I do, the grid becomes unstable. And therefore, what we have promoted is decentralized solar plants which are near to the demand center. Let's say a small building. I build up a 1 megawatt solar plant right next to it. There will be no issue of reneging contracts. But then it is not, sorry for using the word, it's not very sexy, because it's not 100 megawatt, some 2,000 acre farm that I have. These are small 2 acre, 3 acre farmlands land that you have. But yes, this is a serious problem of how do you integrate renewable energy into the grid that most countries are actually grappling with, and India will in the next few years.
So Saurabh, yeah, you rightly said, and that you cannot store energy, but there are parts of the world where they're actually exporting in an innovative way. So, for example, if you look at Dubal, an aluminium company here, because aluminium is a very power-intensive process, electrolysis, about 15,000 units of power per ton of aluminium. And the only thing here cheap is the gas or the energy. They don't have alumina, they don't have anything else. So they get the alumina from Australia, they use this cheap power, and then they're selling the aluminium. So in a way, they're actually exporting power using the cheap energy resources here.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. If you look at these energy-intensive industries like aluminium, like steel, like cement, there the actual arbitrage is the energy cost. So if you're able to produce, if you're able to get power at a cheaper cost, you actually make a lot of difference. As you rightly said, in Dubai, they can actually manufacture a much low quality of cost alumina as compared to maybe in India. And you'll not believe India has the highest industrial tariffs in the world.
In fact, 98, Saurabh, we were doing a project for Hindalco, and there, because again, Hindalco obviously produces aluminium, their Renu Sagar plant, the cost of producing 1 unit of power was 63 paisa, because they were sitting on the coal mine. It's right there. So and the grid power was about 4 rupees at that time. And we did an analysis that if they stopped producing, that it's a very profitable company, the entire profitability would have been wiped out because of this change. Yeah.
So, Zed, many things have changed. Yes, captive power plants are still allowed in the country, but because of the fact that, as you rightly say, a 60 paisa power versus today, it's about, and Piyush is here, I'm sure he will bear me out. The industrial tariffs are somewhere between 8 and 9 rupees. Now, imagine alumina Hindalco from 1 rupee per unit goes to 8 rupees per unit. They'll have to actually close down the unit.
Yeah.
So that's a big concern for sure for energy-intensive industry.
Saurabh, this is Ashish. First of all, great presentation and more power to you and EESL. I was in the renewable energy R&D for about 12 years. I got out at some point. And I think microgrids is definitely the way to go. I think the idea of large power grids is definitely outdated for all the reasons that you mentioned. I also wanted to share a story with you, which feel free to use if you want. When I was in renewable energy, one of my uncles, my distant family members, he was secretary in the Ministry of Power, and he was telling me about a joke that he used to have with. He was in renewable energy ministry, and he was having the joke with the secretary of Ministry of Power. He used to say, "Today we are called renewable energy ministry, and you are called the Ministry of Power. Tomorrow we will be called the Ministry of Power, and you'll be called the Ministry of Prehistoric Energy." So that's the way things are moving. One question I had is that the examples you have given are all large size, where and it's probably easy for the business to handle large volumes, but for individuals, I mean, as a homeowner, I mean, I have a solar panel on my roof, I'm generating solar power, I'm getting all the benefits, but for individuals, what schemes or what plans are there that you can start changing the world, an individual at a time or a household at a time?
Thanks, Ashish. I think it's a very nice anecdote that you mentioned, and I hope it becomes true very soon. As far as honestly speaking, there was an assessment done about 3 or 4 years ago about what is the rooftop potential in this country, in India, and it turned out to be about 112 billion kilowatts. I don't know who did that assessment, but the fact is today, in most urban areas, there's hardly any rooftop available to individuals. I mean, very different in US, in Canada, where you have your own independent houses. But how many independent houses, what percentage of it do you have in this country? So honestly, the rooftops in households has been a beginner in India, will remain so for some time. You've seen rooftops in commercial establishments. But as far as the households are concerned,
using a IT Kanpur platform.
So the government gave 30% capital subsidy for anyone who wants to put up rooftops, but simply because there is no roof available in most part of the country, unlike, as I said, in US, Europe, and Canada, it has really not taken off. Yes, commercial establishments, offices, industrial places have actually put together rooftops. There is no longer subsidy available, which is not also required, because today, if you install a rooftop solar in India, the maximum price is about 5 rupees per kilowatt hour. As against, as I said, the average commercial and industrial tariffs are upwards of 8 rupees. So it makes a lot of sense to just invest in solar and not and reduce your overall energy cost.
I see. Thank you.
So Saurabh, for the entrepreneurs here, a couple of things I missed at the beginning of the talk. So where did you get the seed funding for this? These 4 public sector utilities, they actually provided the initial funding for you to kick this off.
Yeah, so we are a commercial organization. So we now have an equity of about 1,000 crores invested by these 4 public sector organizations.
No, initially when you bought like 60 lakh bulbs or whatever, where did the first investment come from?
So when the company was formed way back in 2010, about 90 crores of equity was invested by these 4 promoter companies.
Okay. Wow, very forward looking. I'm super impressed. The other part I missed was the smart meters. You said, I mean, you have replaced in UP.
Yeah.
So what is the incentive for the homeowner for that? Is it a similar pays kind of program for that, or how did you do it?
So for the homeowner, it is transparency. I don't know. People in India will realize that we get to know how much we have spent on our electricity only after 2 months when the bill comes to us, right? No one, if I'm not satisfied with whatever has come to me, I go to an executive engineer. I will never ever understand and realize why I have spent whatever I have. And the smart meter, therefore, is basically it's an electronic meter which communicates on a two-way stuff. We have built a mobile app where any consumer can look at his or her energy bills in 15 minutes interval, can compare how much did he consume yesterday. And you would not believe, and I was myself surprised, we have done this in Lucknow, in Allahabad, in Kanpur, in Varanasi, in Meerut, and there has been no consumer resistance. People have actually come forward and taken it up so very well because of transparency. And as far as the UP Discom is concerned, per meter per month, their average revenue increase is about 200 rupees.
Oh, very nice. So one other thing you mentioned briefly, and I think Ashish also mentioned, has there been any talks of like Uberization of the grid that I mean, if I'm generating excess power, can I sell it on a marketplace to somebody else?
Excellent question. One has to look at the market structure of power in this country. The power sector is a very traditional sector where I built a power plant because I signed up a power purchase agreement with UP, right? Otherwise, there will be no financial closure as far as my project is concerned. Today, 95% of my power market is based on long-term power purchase agreements. And these are two-part agreement, which means if Vishwa has agreed with me that I'll set up a power plant, let's say it's a coal-based power plant, the tariff will be two-part. One is my fixed cost, which I will recover from Vishwa regardless of whether he takes power from my side. And the second is variable cost, where if I burn coal, whatever is the actual cost, he will pay me back. And therefore, there actually is no market, if you ask me. All these NTPCs or private GenCos are logged into these 25-year contracts with utilities, and regardless of whether they have excess power or they don't, they will, even if they back down, they will have to pay fixed charges. So, what is now the new thinking in the government is to do away with this power purchase agreement. Only then you will have a market. You will have a market at the supply side, and you'll also have a market at the demand side, where I am able to, just like in the case of telecom, I am able to choose my supplier based on whatever good things that the other person does. So there is no market competition as yet, while the law allows it, but practically it is not seen the light of the day.
Saurabh, one question that surprised me, or one statement of yours that surprised me was that out here in USA, the biggest selling point for solar is that the maximum production is between 12 and 5, and that's when your air conditioning requirement is at your maximum and the industries are running. So anything you produce in that time frame is being easily sold or is being transferred through the grid. Your experience seems to have been different, that 12 to 4 time slot, there are no takers.
Yeah.
How does that fit
So
in?
if you look at the load curve of India as a whole, India has two peaks. One peak, which is at 10 a.m. in the morning, goes up to about 1. And the bigger peak is 6 p.m. in the evening, that goes right up to 12 a.m. in the night. That's the load curve of the entire country. So in general, if you see, yes, there are pockets which are different. For example, if you look at the New Delhi area, the peak happens at about 3:30 in the afternoon. Go to Maharashtra, the peak happens at about 5:30 in the afternoon. But then, if you look at country as a whole, the biggest peak happens from 6 p.m. to about 12 a.m. in the night. And that is where, and just to give you a sense of what is the difference between peak and off-peak, in Delhi, the peak demand this summer was about 7,600 megawatt. The off-peak demand is about 4,000 megawatt. So that is the kind of difference that you are seeing here. And therefore, if there is a renewable energy that is available at 6 p.m., people, they are much more willing to buy than possibly at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m.
And you don't find that there's enough grid capacity to transfer that energy from one zone to another.
That's how the grid in India is surviving, because it's a synchronous grid that can take power from anywhere in the world. There are regional, what should I say, requirements. But we are now moving to a stage where, in any case, we are power surplus. We are adding more capacity, particularly in the renewable sector. Even if we have a synchronous grid across the country, the fact is, I don't need power at this point in time. So I don't need power. I have to back it down. Or I store it and use it for some time else. Then the issue of storage cost also comes in. The 2 rupee 44 paisa power suddenly becomes an 8 rupee power, because 5.5 rupees is the storage cost. So it's a very complicated system and place that we are now entering into.
Okay.
So Saurabh, one last one. I know your wife is patiently waiting. Maybe she should also ask questions. but well, one last from my side. Somebody posted this very disturbing image that people are still trying to get water. I mean, there's no water. I mean, water is another utility. I mean, just like electricity. I mean, you need for survival. I mean, can you build something for water purifying or something where water can be easily made accessible to poor neighborhoods or something like that? I mean, that'll be unbelievable, because it was very, very challenging. I mean, I could not believe that people are still traveling miles to just get a pot of drinking water. That's in this day and time.
Yeah, you're right. And it's a difficult one, Vishwa, because traditionally in this country, water is something that no one wants to pay for. And I think we are getting into a place and a stage where it's very difficult to let people and ask people to pay for what they feel is their right. And we are seeing virtually everywhere dearth of potable water, because simply the government do not have enough money to pay. But there are a few good examples that are coming up. And again, one of our batchmates, if you remember, Chanchal Kumar, he's part of the Chief Minister's office in Bihar. They have a very ambitious scheme where they want to provide potable water to virtually every house in Bihar, and that is being something which is now being followed up by others. But it's not a very simple and easy subject. It requires a lot of capital, requires a lot of political will. And so far, honestly speaking, apart from Bihar, I've not seen anything happening anywhere else. And
yeah, there is one big difference. I mean, because in the power case, there is a huge nuclear power plant in the sky that's sending energy everywhere that can be tapped. But I mean, for water, I mean, ocean is the only thing closest to that, because if there's no source of water in some place, how do you bring water there?
Vishwa, it is not just about urban areas. I think the biggest problem is agriculture. And if you see, it is all linked to the fact that because agriculture consumption electricity is completely unremunerative, and therefore most utilities provide electricity to farmers between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the night. Many states, many farms, and there have been many studies on this, where the cropping pattern has changed because you can't go and irrigate your land at 1 a.m. in the night. So what do? You just put on your pump and let the fields be flooded, and therefore you only get into crops which are like rice and a few others, because there's no way in the night that you can go and because not every plant requires flood irrigation. So these are practical issues which not just are of issues which are it's very deep rooted political economy, not very easy. But yes, I think there is a movement forward, and really optimistic that this country will rebound in a very big manner.
Okay, that's it from my side. I mean,
Baba, one question from my side. This is Atul,
yes, Atul
here.
Yeah.
A question for Anupma, who's sitting at the back patiently listening to all of us.
Yeah, she needs to ask a question.
She, I'm sure, asked many questions through the day.
Asking all kinds of questions ever since Saurav started on this venture. But a lot of things have been an eye-opener in this presentation for me as well. I've been listening to the most of these things in pockets, but today it's really been very, very comprehensive.
No, but excellent work, very impressive. And thankfully, I've been in touch. So I've been hearing from Saurabh these stories on a very regular basis, a fortnightly or a monthly basis. But very, very impressive when you look at the overall thing. Anupma, my quick question to you. How have you dealt with Saurabh's role in the UN, where, sending one mail used to be quite an achievement during the day, to this kind of hectic lifestyle?
Oh, Saurabh's UN days were really nice as far as the family was concerned. We had a great time in Bangkok. So I was, as he rightly said, that in UN, his work was like he was able to do the entire work in few hours time, or maybe an hour or something. So he had a lot of time for the family. So it was a great time. I had taken some leave, and I was together we were there for about a year. So it was great. It was really nice. And of course, although Saurabh has become very busy, but he still takes out time for family. Let me admit that.
Very nice. So Anupama, you are very accomplished yourself. I mean, you must have had some contributions to this. I mean, Saurabh cannot be inspired by himself for this.
Technical field at all. I'm a tax student, so I would like to think like so nothing in this field at all. But I'm actually as his I'm really appreciative of what he's doing, and he never ceases to amaze me with his energy, and of course with his like lot of ideas and innovative ideas. It's amazing. So even as a wife, I'm very appreciative of him.
Wow, that's very rare. Saurabh, you have accomplished not one thing, but two things.
Yes. So
एक कहावत है ना कि बकरे को काटने के पैसे खिलाया जाता है.
So, anybody else has any questions for Saurabh? Piyush, you have to ask a question. How can you be silent? It's your birthday, man. Come on. Oh, no audio.
We can hear you.
I cannot hear Piyush.
Yeah, I cannot hear Piyush as well.
So you can use the YouTube link to hear what's being said.
Hey, Piyush. अबे Mercedes को कहो कि एक अच्छा headset दे दे भाई. What is this? All right. If nobody has questions, I mean, I don't think we should.
So I'll ask the last question, Vishwa.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, please, Sharad.
Ah,
Yeah.
so Saurabh, I visited with you maybe 4 years ago. I don't remember exactly when. I think this was still a fairly nascent effort at that time, but even then it sounded quite impressive. It's just truly amazing to see how far you have brought it, and it sounds like the sky is the limit in this venture. I have a question. I mean, given the opportunity, I mean, given the how far this can be taken, do you have any competition? Are there any other companies or enterprises that are trying to do similar things as you are?
Yeah, there are many for sure. Particularly now that we are in the solar business as well and smart meters. But somehow we have managed to stay ahead of the curve simply because we were able to three things. We were able to aggregate demand more than anyone else. We've been able to blend finances, which is something which is not very usual, including carbon finance, which I mentioned, some other kind of climate finance. So far, we have been ahead of the competition, and we wish to remain that way for some more time.
So, Saurabh, in any way, any batchmates outside of India can help?
Of course, Ajit has been one of the biggest. I thought he was here.
Yeah, he's there. He's there somewhere. He's
I must,
silent.
when we are doing the acquisition in the UK, 2017, and honestly speaking, Atul connected me to Ajit. I don't think me and Ajit spoke ever. We knew that we are batchmates. Would you believe in 6 weeks' time, he was able to get us finance on a non-recourse basis to buy, to acquire an asset in the UK. Wonderful.
Wow.
I mean, just wonderful.
Wow. I mean, I keep thinking, collaboration with companies like Tesla or something like that. Is that a possibility within your?
Tesla got in touch with us about just before the lockdown.
Okay.
For some.
No, if it's private conversation, we should edit out these things. By the way, Sandeep, before you put it, please take out some of the some of the parts that seem like a little bit private.
No, it's not that. So what happens in government is that you become a jack of all, master of none, and people get wrong impressions about you that you are a big expert. So this is something which has been now attributed to me, that as far as the EVs are concerned, I am one of the quote unquote experts. So everyone who brings in an EV in this country wants to give the first one to me, whether it is MG or Kona. So similarly, Tesla came to us about 6 months ago, and they said they want to bring in Model 3. We are still in discussions with them. I don't know whether they have any intent on that, but for sure, they can't ignore India for long, because as far as four-wheelers are concerned, this will be the biggest market, either IC engines or EVs, in the next decade.
Mm-hmm.
So they will, at some point in time, but yes, they did connect with us. Certainly not Elon Musk, but one of his deputies who came in here just before the lockdown.
Yeah, very nice. I mean, makes total sense actually. So that's great to hear.
I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. I mean, like in China, they've gone big, right?
They've gone very big. But if you see between India and China, the market is in India, and Piyush will bear me out. I mean, as far as four-wheelers are concerned, this is the big fat market that you have.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, many of us are owners of some Tesla vehicle or another. I mean, I would highly recommend. It's a great vehicle, actually. It's a pleasure. And I sat in your EV, by the way, Saurabh. Thanks for giving me a ride that day. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, they are a different kind of cars, but amazing cars. I mean, I'm sorry, Piyush.
Oh, he's already got a e-Mercedes now.
Oh, good. Piyush actually gave me a ride. It felt so odd. I mean, the roads are still not very developed, but he sent like a spaceship for me to be picked up from the airport. And everybody's looking at me as if I'm a celebrity or something. Who's going in this car? All right, so let's enjoy the rest of the evening or day, rest of the time. But thank you
Yeah,
so much, Saurabh and
quite a powerful
Anupama.
achievement. Yeah.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. I mean, I feel like this is the kind of work that deserves the highest levels of awards in India. I mean, you're changing the country, helping change the country.
Thanks, Bhagwa. Thanks, Sandeep. Thanks, everyone. Pleasure
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, great job, Saurabh.
Yeah, cool.
Good job.
All right,
Thanks,
cheers,
guys.
guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.
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 And thanks,
Thank you,
Sandeep,
sir. Bye.
as usual,
Thank you. Thank you.
silent supporter behind everything. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.